Coming up, a man struck and killed by a car on the Central Coast, the moment captured by security cameras. The latest from Thailand as the cave rescue begins, and the undiagnosed disease affecting 500,000 Australians. Coming up, a man struck and killed by a car on the Central Coast, the moment captured by security cameras. The latest from Thailand as the cave rescue operation begins, and a new look at the new light rail project. That's next. Tonight, the world watches and waits as the rescue mission begins to save 12 boys and their football coach from a cave in Thailand. One man killed and another clinging to life, struck by a ute on the Central Coast. Manhunt over. Brazilian police arrest Cecilia Haddad's ex-boyfriend, wanted over her murder. And the UK sent into meltdown after England's latest World Cup win.
This is NBN News with Paul Lobb.
Good evening. Slowly, cautiously, the operation to rescue 12 schoolboys and their soccer coach from a flooded cave system in Thailand is now underway. They've been trapped underground for 2 weeks, and their families, friends, rescue workers, all of us are hoping their ordeal will soon be over.
All the signs were growing that the wonderful, yet fearful, moment was at hand. The order given to bring the boys out. The teams that will undertake the operation started arriving in clusters. Thai Navy SEALs first.
You've been called in today?
No, sorry, thanks.
Then came the Australian Federal Police divers. Tense, no doubt, about the job ahead and reluctant to express their hopes or any fears.
How many divers do you have here with you?
Thank you very much.
The team bringing the boys out is 18 strong, 5 Thais and 13 international divers. A bond built over the past week and symbolically cemented early today. These are the men who now know the cave passages as well as anyone can. They have explored and widened where possible the twisting labyrinth that became flooded, trapping the boys. And they have rehearsed their techniques, preparing as well as they can for the unexpected. It will be a buddy system rescue. Each child will be tethered to a diver. It's believed they will share the same air tank. The extra divers will provide backup and reassurance. The journey out will last as long as 6 hours, walking and wading through areas now drained, but most dangerously, there is a long stretch where they could be underwater. Rescue chiefs are confident the boys are physically and mentally prepared. It's believed the final go-ahead was given by Australian Dr. Richard Harris, who journeyed into the cave.
How many boys will be coming out?
We will pick up every one of them.
They will all come out at once?
But be one by one.
At dawn today, the momentum of the rescue operation reached a tipping point. The advantages of any further delay balanced out by the dangers of renewed flooding. Heavy showers last night produced as much water running in as work teams were pumping out. The past 24 hours have been a time of relentless preparation. The past 24 hours have been a time of relentless preparation, like climbing a mountain inside out. Ropes rigged, guidelines strengthened, supplies moved to the base camp deep inside the cave. As well, fresh teams are monitoring and maintaining the oxygen pumps that are sustaining both rescuers and boys alike. All the time, swimming medics have been feeding the 12 boys and their soccer coach, boosting their stamina. And divers have been training them to use the scuba gear.
Well, this green tarp has been put up overnight. It's covering the entrance to where the boys will be brought out, acting as a privacy screen. This area is where all the media have been based. As you can see, we are all being forced to pack up. The army have come through. They say they now need this area for operations.
Parents of the boys are close at hand. Ambulances and paramedics have arrived at a nearby staging zone. And at a local hospital, 13 beds have been prepared. Right now, the boys and their soccer coach are being guided through the dank cave corridors and the dangerous waters, as Thailand and an anxious world waits with the best of wishes for the best of news.
Reporter Alice Montfries is in Chiang Rai tonight, and the question everyone is asking, just when will the boys be free?
Well, we could see the first boy emerge from that cave just after 9 p.m. local time, but we face a very anxious wait over the next 6 hours with no communications down in the cave and no way of knowing how this rescue is progressing. These boys have shown so much strength and resilience over the past 2 weeks of being trapped down in that dark cave. They just need to be brave and strong one last time, and then they'll finally be back in their parents' arms.
Alice Montfries there. 2 pedestrians in the middle of a road on the Central Coast have been hit by a ute. One has died and another is in a critical condition. The driver has been charged over the crash and apologised to the families of his alleged victims.
2 men can be seen in the middle of Wilfred Barrett Drive as a ute comes into view, but it doesn't stop in time. 26-year-old Kate Shields was one of those pedestrians. He died at the scene. The other, 46-year-old Kevin Stokes, was critically injured. His son was nearby at the time.
It's very traumatic.
Police and paramedics arrived at the entrance north just after midnight.
And all I remember is standing over there and just seeing my dad on the ground, and I'm losing it.
The 44-year-old ute driver has been charged over the crash.
I was driving to see my wife. Then the next thing I know, they're in the middle of the road, on a bend. Too late, I couldn't do nothing. I'm sorry to all the families that are involved. I never meant to hurt them.
Crash investigators are back at the scene, speaking with witnesses as they try to piece together what happened in the lead up to the crash and whether the 2 pedestrians were arguing before they were hit. Police also want to speak to this driver who slowed down and drove past the men seconds before they were struck. Zara James, NBN News.
He's eluded authorities for more than 2 months, but tonight suspected murderer Mario Santoro is behind bars in Brazil. He was tracked down to an apartment in Rio de Janeiro. He's wanted over the death of Cecilia Haddad in Sydney's northwest. The death of Cecilia Haddad in Sydney's northwest.
From Sydney to Rio, the law finally caught up with Mario Marcelo Santoro. In the back of a police car, defeated as heavily armed cops steered him into a media pack. The questions came quick and fast.
Why did you run?
Arguably the most important, did you kill Cecilia Haddad, was met with silence. He was bundled into the homicide headquarters in Baja, 14 kilometres from the luxury of his Copacabana home. The police chief had earlier showed off Santoro's mugshot at the height of the search, proudly confirmed they'd got their man. Today he's been indicted on the murder of Cecilia Haddad and for trying to hide her body. For 24 hours, police armed with an arrest warrant and big guns scoured the city of 6 million. Santoro's face became headline news on the TV, a fugitive wanted for murder half a world away. And when he was caught in the lounge room of his sister's apartment, police photographed their catch, surrendering to 2 officers and reportedly saying, "I've ended my life." And there were more cameras waiting for him outside. There are 60,000 murders in Brazil every year. This one case from Australia has attracted more attention than most. Locked up, and now the legal wrangling begins. The alleged crime was committed in Sydney, and police would prefer the matter be dealt with in Australia. But the Brazilians have all but ruled that out, insisting he will go to court here, and if convicted, could face 15 years jail. In a statement marking the arrest, New South Wales detectives said they're ready to travel to Brazil as soon as the international protocols have been met. And for Rio Police, the visit will be crucial. The officers will bring with them the evidence which they say proves Santoro strangled his former lover and dumped her body in the Lane Cove River.
Will he plead not guilty?
Santoro has enlisted a high-powered legal team, and its first move will be to try to get him released as soon as possible.
Reporter Damien Ryan is in Rio and has more on what happens now.
Yes, the police no doubt worked very swiftly to flush out Santoro, but we're told the legal process could be a long drawn-out affair. It could take up to 2 years before he has his day in a Brazilian court, if that's the way it is played out. We've also heard from Cecilia Haddad's mother. She's praised the good work by police and says she's simply overwhelmed by the fact that someone has now been charged with her daughter's murder.
Almost 7 decades since the last tram travelled through Newcastle, the final logistics of light rail's return to the city are beginning to take effect. While it's still very much a construction zone, by the end of July, Newcastle's Hunter Street will reopen to traffic. In what's expected to be a relief to both business owners and customers, 100 parking spaces will also return.